Hi there, I'm Erin. My channel is dedicated to spiritual awakening talk, and I have been avoiding making this video in particular. I actually had it as number one that I was supposed to do this video to kick off my channel. My channel's really young. I've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, and I've been avoiding this. You know, when we avoid things, there are reasons for that. And so I was meditating about it after a little break, went to the coast over the weekend, and I got a little bit of distance from it and realized that I'm scared to talk about my spiritual awakening because it's going to it's going to force me to go back in time and recount some things that were really, really painful for me. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I have my box of tissue right here because part of my guidance in doing this YouTube channel is to be as raw and truthful and honest about this whole journey and process as I can, even if that is challenging for me, which it is, to cry in front of people or to just spill it. But I'm here to spill it because I don't have time for anything that isn't honest anymore. If it's not the truth, I can sense it. It doesn't feel right to me. And it starts with me. Before we really truly dive in, disclaimer for everyone. I will be talking about angels, spirit guides, unicorns, dragons. Okay, they're like, this is going to be pretty out there. And if that is way outside your comfort zone, just letting you know, that has been part of my experience. And I can't make that up. I never would have wanted to make that up. I just wanted to be a regular person. You know, I didn't want to have like Buddha or Ganesh popping into my mornings, you know, hello. No, I'm not ready for that. I was never ready for any of this. And that has been the overarching theme. That's been my biggest complaint through the last 7 years is I'm not ready for this. I don't want that. No, no, but blocking it doesn't help. We have to embrace what's there, no matter whether it fits into our preconceived reality or not. We're actually here to bust up this false reality that we're in. We're here to awaken out of the dream that we've been living in. We've been asleep. So when we're waking up, there may be things that burst through the wall like the Kool-Aid man. Hey, 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 I'm here. And you might not want to see that. You might not want to see something crawling on the wall that previously you could not see. You may not want to feel what's going on with that person in the restaurant, 5 feet away from you. Oh, but you're going to feel it and you're going to know it. All of a sudden, your world becomes different. You become different. And for me, that was scary. It was scary. And I thought that I was losing my sanity. And now that I've worked with people over the last 5 years of my life, once I kind of got my grounding, got my footing, okay, this is what's really happening to me. This is who I am now. I began working with others who were also on the awakening journey. And a huge common thread between all of us was that we were all experiencing some kind of fear trauma coming up about what was going on with us. And it was just very comforting to be in fellowship with someone that you could talk to about these things. So that's why I'm doing this, because if you're that person on the other end of the camera and you need to hear some real talk about what's going on in a spiritual awakening, if any of this resonates with you, then keep listening. I'm going to do this in a couple of different sections. Today's section is the pre-awakening, the little signs and breadcrumbs that I was having an awakening even before I knew it, and the first year, like the splitting wide open kind of awakening experience where you can't deny that you literally like changed into a different creature altogether. And what happened to me and how that affected my consciousness, my life, my family, my career, my relationships, the whole shebang. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get going. All right. Cheers. Here we go. And I have Baby Yoda here with me. It's a Baby Yoda day because I just feel like I need a little extra courage. And It's all about Baby Yoda around here, okay? So I want to talk about the pre-awakening. For many of us, maybe that's what we're in right now, or this could have been, 30 years for you ago. But there's definitely a pre-awakening phase. And for me, looking back on my life, even though I would say my official big wide opening, bursting open awakening was in 2018 in the spring, there were many things happening to me previous to that. I now know, oh, yes, this was preparing me for this. My vibration was definitely, it was getting higher and it was triggering a lot of trauma for me. So in 2012, I had 2-year-old twin boys and I was neck deep in responsibilities. I was a teacher, sixth grade teacher at the time. And I also taught, I directed and managed an improv group for middle schoolers at my school. But there was a parent who had it out for me. I would say she was probably specially designed somewhere. And she just, my soul called her in because, wow, did she give me a run for my money? I was running scared. We didn't have campus security. And I'm pretty sure she wanted to kill me. I mean, she hated me so much. Like all of her trauma, she was directing right at me. She would stay up till when we would get these hateful emails, my admin and I, at like 2 o'clock in the morning, ranting and raving about what a terrible person I am. So that was traumatizing for me. She would just burst into my classroom without any security. I was barely holding it together. And that entire year that my kids were 2, I felt like a hunted animal at work. I was in survival mode to the point where food didn't have any taste. And so I'm pretty sure that that all aligned with the timing of the big solar expansion, what the Mayans were talking about in the 2012 prophecies. That all did happen, but it happened on a spiritual, energetic level. The earth shifted. 2012 was big for a lot of people who were going to begin the ascension cycle of upgrading their light quotient and really embodying with their soul. That kind of began for a lot of people, and it was starting to begin for me. Now I'm going to fast forward a little bit to 2016-17, where I started getting super curious about aliens and that Ancient Aliens show on the History Channel. Oh my God, and Giorgio with his hair, and my husband and I would we would just make fun of his hair. I really didn't take it too seriously, but I wanted to watch it so badly and I didn't want to miss an episode. And there were some things that were being spoken about on there that just really grabbed me. Like I couldn't look away. And I was also starting to do some truth seeking online. This author, David Wilcock, wrote a book called The Synchronicity Key, where he drops a lot of truth bombs. And some of them were really hard for me to take. Some of them rocked me to my core, especially the stuff about the Luciferian satanic kind of, we're talking about really deep, dark, shadowy stuff that I don't want to bring it all up here, because if that's not part of your journey or your consciousness, then that's probably great for you. But for me, my awakening took me to some really deep, dark places where I had been completely asleep. I had been one of the sheep my entire life, believing everything I was told. There was a big moment back in 2017 that led to some truths really hitting my consciousness at this point. I watched Requiem for an American Dream by Noam Chomsky. And I was familiar with Noam Chomsky because I had studied speech pathology. I was a speech therapy major. And so I was aware of him as the father of the generative language theory. I could nerd out with like linguistics and language and stuff. And it's kind of interesting that I became a light language speaker. But anyways, so I was aware of him on that level. Now, I was not aware that he was this deep journalist who had really uncovered a lot of the dirt. These are people who are like uncovering the truth, blowing the whistle, bringing things to us that if your conscious is ready for that level of disclosure, you will take it in and it will start working on you. Okay, it will start dissolving and really challenging some of the belief systems that you've had in place since you were born that were just fed to you. Everybody's just eating that, everybody's just ingesting it. So what happened to me was after Requiem for an American Dream, I sat there for 10 minutes like this. Oh my God. That was one of the big awakening moments for me. It was just designed for me at that moment. Things started hitting me. And the next 6 months of my life were really different. I was starting to get angry. So as we're awakening, if you're having anger, because I would almost say that my spiritual awakening began with anger. It was a deep, deep primal anger about being lied to. And I'm getting emotional now because that was such a big emotion for me to be dealing with at the time. And I didn't quite exactly know why I was angry. So I came to know that I was being lied to, that we are all being lied to. And I wondered if anybody else knew about that. So I started talking to people, my friends, my coworkers, my family. Nobody wanted to talk about that except my dad. Okay, my dad has always been a conspiracy theorist. He spent a large part of his 30s and 40s researching and reading every book about the JFK assassination because he just knew it was a bunch of bullshit. So I could talk to my dad about this a little bit. They just all looked at me like I was crazy. I think that you know, they couldn't understand why I couldn't just be happy. Why can't you just be happy and drink a beer with us? Come on, we're visiting. And truthfully, now I get it. Like, that's who I am now. I will just have a beer with you. And if you aren't interested in talking about any of this stuff, that's cool. I can respect where you are just as you're respecting where I am. But back then, I was just desperate to find out if I was the only person who felt strongly about this, who was angry about this, furious to a point where it was obsessive. And the David Wilcock book, Synchronicity Key, combined with the Requiem for the American Dream, that all was happening within the same year. I was also starting to want to read accounts of people who had been abducted by aliens and wanting to know about aliens and, are aliens real? Is God real? I had no religion. I had not been spiritual at any point in my life. And so I was just feeling very lost and confused. I was seeking the truth. I even went online and did just a bunch of searches. I started reading little samples of books, and if the sample grabbed me, then I grabbed it. I read some Dolores Cannon that really opened me up. But I did go through sort of a depression for a while. It was like anger mixed with depression, mixed with like, what is it all for? We've been lied to. So you could call this part When Muggles Awaken, because I was this muggle who just didn't know or understand. But there was some part of me that was like, well, seems like there's something going on. So one night, I remember that I was getting really scared reading this book about an alien abduction, and I was just getting really ramped up about it. And I didn't know what to believe in. I didn't know if I should believe that. I didn't know if I should reach out to something like God. The only religion I'd ever been introduced to was Christianity. And there was just something really icky about giving all of my power away to Jesus. Like I had this really bad attitude about Jesus in particular. Now, I now have mended that relationship. I now feel the more cosmic Sananda Master Jesus in my life, in my consciousness. But back then, I just had a really lousy experience with having people push me at churches I was visiting, and there was some trauma there about that. And I just had a mixture of guilt, fear, and anger about having Jesus forced down my throat, literally forced into my heart when I didn't feel it and I didn't understand. So I just reached out. And I remember this moment where at the end of a really long, probably 10-hour workday, and after getting my kids to bed, I just looked out the window and I said, okay, show me something, because I feel like there's something going on, but I have no idea how to reach out, but I feel like something is there. If someone is there, if anyone is there, please let me know. Please let me know, because I feel like being done with this place. And it's just really shitty not knowing where I stand, who I am, if there's anything out there, is there anything more than this? And then I just went to sleep. And a little while later, I'm going to say it might have been days or weeks, I'm not exactly sure, I had what I call the dream. And it was an experience. So it wasn't like any dream that I've ever had. And in speaking to other people that have had awakenings and dreams like this, if you've had one, you know, it is more like a visitation while you're in a very slow theta state, a brainwave state, or delta. You can still be in delta and be technically asleep, and this can still happen to you, where you are being visited by a presence. In my dream or my visitation, someone invisible was there. And I couldn't see them, but I could feel them. And it just felt like being with my best friend. And it also felt at the same time very magical. And there were things flying around in the air. So in the dream, there was laundry and it was folding itself. And I had had a series of dreams where I think I was being tested. Some supernatural things would happen, and I would always get really, really afraid if anything that was not part of our physical laws of gravity and reality here. So if anything happened in a dream that didn't go along with that, I would freak out and wake up. In this dream, I did not freak out. I was calm. I was happy. I was watching the laundry flying around in the air, and it was folding itself. And then one of the pieces of laundry showed itself to me, and it was a color. It was yellow. And I knew in my consciousness that the color yellow meant something. And what I connected it to was slow down. When I finally got the connection and I said out loud to myself, oh, this means slow down and wait, just like the traffic light, yellow. I got really happy, and the presence that I was with affirmed that that was true. And all I had to do was slow down and wait. And I heard myself say at the end of this dream or encounter, thank you, Jesus. I actually said that. Now, like I said, at the time, I did not have like the best relationship with Jesus, the deity, or, the Christianity Jesus. And that would not have been my go-to. But I woke up saying, thank you, Jesus, and knowing that I had just been in his presence, or in the presence of a being that made me feel really, really good and really safe and really happy. And when I woke up from that dream, I knew it wasn't a dream, but I was still calling it a dream because I didn't have any other way of framing that. I started telling people about it. I asked people about it. I tried to explain what had happened and why it was so profound for me. That was the first time I had ever experienced a presence like that. It was so real. That was a huge pre-awakening point for me, because after that, everything started rolling faster. When I did have another dream, my second dream like that, was I was being propelled through the astral through my heart chakra. A ball of light came and grabbed me and pulled me along by my heart chakra as if someone had grabbed me, and we were going at the speed of light. So it was really scary for me because my consciousness, my human consciousness, was still there and was still aware of it. And we were going so fast, so fast, so fast that I finally just got so uncomfortable with it that I popped awake. But I knew that it was my spirit or my higher self or an angel of some sort. I knew it was something. But those types of dreams really let me know, on a deep knowing level, on a feeling level, that something really different was happening to me. Now I'm going to kind of pop over to 2017, and I got shingles in my eye, my left eye, and I was getting more energetically sensitive at the time. I remember I was starting to have like these headaches and migraines, really kind of fighting with a lot of different pieces and parts of myself, really having a big problem with the level of perfectionism in my career that I had already created. I was very ramped up in my anxiety about it. They were starting to send people through my room with clipboards. I was doing demonstrations. So I was a lead kindergarten teacher, and I was being asked to demonstrate some different things that I apparently was good at, but that just further ramped up my perfectionism to the point where I was self-critical of everything that I did because people were in my room watching me. And of course, kindergartners are wild cards. You can't control them, but I was trying. So it was getting really ramped up for me. Lots of migraine headaches. When the shingles came on, I think it was around October, and I was just, things were at like a fever pitch in terms of being busy and not having any time for myself. So I got shingles in the dermatome, which is like a cranial nerve that controls an area of your skin. From here, from the tip of my nose, it went all the way up, around my head. But what was most affected was my eye. There was blistering in my eyeball on the lens, and my eye was damaged. So that level of pain that I was feeling deep, deep down in my eyeball and my brain and optic nerve, all of that was just unconscious trauma coming up to be healed. And that was how my body was doing it. After shingles, I came back and I was pretty different. I mean, I was struggling really hard at work to just stay connected to what I was doing. And so in December, I get this phone call, and this was 4 months prior to when my big opening would come. So 4 months previous to my big explosion of awakening that there's no walking back from, no getting out of, I got the notice that payroll had had an audit, and they found that I had been shorted my salary for 11 years. For 11 years, I had not been paid according to my credits, and I was going to be receiving an enormous check, an enormous check. A check so big that it was a year's salary for me. Once all of the taxes were taken out, it was equivalent to a full year in my teacher's salary. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Everybody thought it was cool because if you got an email like that, it meant you were going to owe money. Oh, we found that you owe us money. But no, I was like the one person that anybody has ever heard of where I was owed money by the district. And I was just floored. This was the first of many like big, big, weird miracles that happened. So I basically had a year's salary. I didn't know that I was going to need it. I did not know that that was basically like a spiritual bank account for me. Around that time when I was really struggling, I was taking a lot of mental health days off. And on one of the mental health days off, I channeled. Now, I didn't know I was channeling at the time. I just thought that I really needed a mental health day off. I loved collaging because I had done it, in my past or whatever. And I had all these magazines and books, and I was like, oh, I'm going to cut them all up and I'm going to arrange them, and it's just going to be a fun day. Well, I spent like 5 or 6 hours on the floor with this really intense drive. I went into kind of a trance, I think, and my knees were aching, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't get up. It was like, I mean, now I know this was like channeling big time, because something was guiding me to make very specific cuts, make very specific choices with the colors and the letters and the words. And I'm just going to read the basics to you. I didn't read what the words meant until after I had awakened. And then it all made sense. So this is basically a roadmap to what was going to happen to me in the next year. The very first word is wake over here on the tree. So it kind of flows down this way and then down. And there are some really trippy things about this. I never could have imagined that this would have been so predictive of my life. I have sat long hours in front of this channeled collage, circling, highlighting. I can't believe how many things have popped out at me from this that are speaking my life to me as it actually happened. So this is true. Wake, search, new direction. Now, I hadn't quite hit the new direction yet in the timeline that I'm sharing with you now. But strange, wild monsters, anger, and revenge would come in the first 2 weeks that I left my teaching career. I was having suppressed trauma being shown to me. Memories that I didn't have access previously were suddenly being shown to me in a very safe, almost sedated mental state for me to process, so that I could dissolve those blocks and move through them, so that my channel would be more open, and so that I could ground into my lower chakras. Magic. Now, the magic is the angels did some work with me. When this trauma came up, I felt very angry because someone that I trusted had done something to me, and I'd completely suppressed it, the entire thing. So when it came up and we had to look at all the trauma, I had to see it from every angle, from the astral, feel it in my body. There were a bunch of beings that were helping me through it. And the healing was so complete that I would say like a 90% full forgiveness was achieved almost overnight. And I never thought that that was possible. As a human being, I just didn't think something like that would be possible. And I have since worked through all of it. We have here secret chuckles of madness. Really speaking about the first year of my spiritual awakening, and in feeling like there were so many crazy things happening to me inside my consciousness that all I could do was feel like I was going slowly mad inside my own brain, because I just couldn't share most of it. Most of it was far too outside the reality of the people that I knew, and I could not share it without running the risk of them thinking that I was having some kind of psychosis or schizophrenia, or just being really scared for me. And some of them had been really scared for me and had been communicating with each other behind my back. What are we going to do about Erin? I'm so worried about her. And I didn't want to put my family through any more of that trauma. So that's what the secret chuckles of madness is about here. When I was channeling, I did not know any of this. It hadn't happened yet. So this was a predictive future me coming through this piece. So you go down the tree a little bit. There's some interesting things here. And then we have finally home, laughter, family. And then at the very bottom is the word wine, which I guess makes sense, because I did go through a whole phase where I thought I had to cut out everything, including, beer, wine, alcohol, whatever it was that I used to enjoy when I wasn't spiritual. I can't have it now. But I've come full circle to where I can still enjoy some of the things that I used to do that maybe were considered harmful, and just consciously enjoy them, and with moderation, of course, but there's no shame or guilt attached to it anymore. And so now I'm in that place. So it's kind of funny that at the bottom it actually says wine, because I had a huge thing about that. So now The ultimate weirdness about this is I used really, really old books that like I, didn't read in college, like assigned readings. Within the very, very fine print here of the parts that I used for the tree, my son's names are in there. And my dad's name is there. And now my mom's name isn't Mary, but my mom really embodies a lot of the Mother Mary energy. It's just in her. She just exudes it. It's just part of her makeup. She's got that divine mother frequency. And all of them are in here. Now, how is that possible that in this tiny little bits and pieces of text, my family members' names are in there? These are old books like Beowulf. One of them was like Henry and Beezus by Beverly Cleary. Like, I didn't handpick these books for the words or the names. It was for the colors. I literally was just trying to get colors that looked good together. So this piece, and even in some of the pictures, I mean, there are these tennis shoes that remind me of my friend who passed away. When I really, really started looking, I could not believe it. This is one of the biggest, mysterious, miraculous things that's pretty much ever happened to me. And it was one of those synchronicities where you just can't make this shit up. And we are awakening ourselves. I'm going to hold the next part because I'm realizing I'm going to have to edit the crap out of this, but I've talked for a really long time and I've gotten almost up to the point where I had the shower incident, where I consider the shower incident to be the breaking open where my consciousness split and I became clair-audient all of a sudden, and everything started pouring in. I was being given messages clairaudiently. Things were being explained to me. And that's when shit really got live. That's when I was given you're going to have to give a 2 weeks notice. We cannot help you unless you are free to do your healing work with us now. You cannot be in that busy, crowded place. You're going to be too energetically sensitive. You can't be around all of them right now. You've got to end this career. We have something for you up ahead, and just trust. So I was being asked to trust. And I'm going to explain what happened in the shower in the next episode. I just feel like this has gone on way too long, and I probably have lost most of my audience by now. But if you are still here, please see part 2. I'm going to cut it off right here and let everyone rest, including myself, because I'm going to start with 2018 and the shower incident and what that year was like for me, what it was like to feel like I was losing my mind. But I didn't. I didn't lose my mind. I'm still here. I'm still tethered, and I've lived to talk about it. So thank you for joining me and listening to that. I feel like I was rambling the entire time, and I am going to try to edit it. Sorry if my edits are choppy and jump around. I just want to save you guys from all of the ums. And also, I was coughing. I think my throat chakra is going through a lot of healing as I'm talking, about this stuff. Thank you so much. Please remember to comment if anything in this video spoke to you about the pre-awakening. If you resonated with any of this, please leave me a comment. If you had any similar types of pre-awakening experiences, mention it. I would love to hear about it. Give this video a like to help it find its people. Subscribe to my channel if this kind of content interests you and lights you up, and I will see you next time. Thank you.